Hello people of the internet and welcome back to another Nerd Central video. In today's video I will be taking a look at a new thing on my channel, which are books. Now if you know me in real life, I love my books, I love all sorts of books, but mainly I like the Doctor Who books, and today I will be reviewing Doctor Who Human Nature, the original version of the story. Now if you know anything about Doctor Who, this was made into a two-parter for David Tennant's second series, which were the Human Nature and the Family of Blood. But I prefer this version for reasons I'll get onto later. But first we'll take a look at the book itself. As you can see, it's a very nice front cover. There's a picture which is sort of coloured to sort of make it look old. It's of Sylvester McCoy in his costume with his hat looking very solemn. Then there's a picture of the academy. I think it's the Roachfield Academy. I forgot what it's called. Does it say on the back? Oh no, Hulton College, yeah. It's basically a college in Norfolk, which is basically on fire. That must be during the attack, but we'll get into that later. Then it says Human Nature in this right age text. Paul Cornell, the History Collection, because this is part of a series of books that they're doing for each Doctor called the History Collection. Excuse me. On the spine it says Doctor Who, Human Nature, picture of Sylvester McCoy, then it goes to black and it says Paul Cornell and BBC Books. A really nice effect here. Then on the back it says the Doctor is a legend woven throughout history. Then there's a picture of the Doctor there. Then it just continues that motif of making it look like an old letter. Then there's the blurb there, you can read it if you wanna. An adventure set in Britain on the eve of the First World War, featuring the Seventh Doctor as played by Sylvester McCoy and his companion Bernice Summerfield. This book was the basis for the 10th Doctor story, as I just said. Doctor Who, the History Collection, and basically all the legal information. Now this book is approximately, just let me have a look. This book is approximately, it's about 200 and just under 270 pages long, so it's not like a massive book, but it's a good size one. You can maybe get through this in like, I took like a week or two to do it, because I read maybe like 1 or 2 chapters a night. But yeah, now I'll cut to my thoughts on the story itself. Now on to my thoughts on the story itself, and I'll tell you some differences here. So I've got a little list here of stuff that I like about it. Basically, number one, I do love the design of this book overall. I think it's a really nice cover, really stands out on your collection, helps distinguish it from other stuff. It don't just use the same cover as the New Adventures version, which is good, even though that cover's awesome. I love the setting of the book, being that it's set in 1913 England, in like Suffolk, in like a village. So it's very nice. No, it's Norfolk, but it's a very nice setting. If you know from the episode, I just love that time period, and I think it just works well in the Doctor Who story. The Family of Blood gets a lot more development here than it does in the episode itself, because we learn that they have all different names, and we learn more about the culture of the family. For example, in the episode, there are some changes, because in the episode, they're just called brother of mine, sister of mine, mother of mine, so on. But in the book, they all have individual names. Like the one's called Green Eye, one's called Hoth, one's called Aphasia, and one's called August, I think. Yes, so it's good, and we also learn more about the species itself. Because whereas in the episode they possess people, in this one they're actually shape changers. So they eat a bit of a person and then they become that person if they want to, which is kind of disturbing. The book is a lot more graphic as well than the TV show. For example, at one point here, something happens to Dr. Smith, like where, while the Doctor's in human form, he gets the end of his finger bitten off, actually properly bitten off. And that's quite graphic because it describes it. And also, on the attack on the school, it's a lot more graphic. Like, people just don't get disintegrated. You have, like, people's heads exploding and gore going everywhere, and everything's brutal. So I wouldn't buy this for a younger person because it does cover some adult themes, but yeah, it's very violent at certain points. Like, there's a bit like where you know, like in the episode, the girl has the balloon, and you think nothing of it. It's just a balloon. But in the book, it gets a lot more graphic than that because the balloon's actually a living thing, like it's part of her, and the balloon actually strangles people. Sometimes it actually smothers them to death, and it's very violent. But it's a good type of violent. The book also delves into some darker subjects that's been in the book that they can't do in the show. For example, like the Doctor, it's spoiler alert, it changes into a human on purpose because he wants to understand Bernie's emotion because she's actually lost. Because both of them live in one of the previous books, they've lost like a member of the crew, like the friend. I think he killed himself, but yeah, he wants to understand human emotion, so he turns himself human. But also, there's one of the family of blood that has I'd say, not that healthy obsession with the female reproductive system, and is a bit of a, disturbing one. I'm not going to say more, but yeah, he has a bit of a obsession with the human sexual organs and that, which is a bit disturbing. So if you know what I'm on about, you'll get what he wants to do there. Take his frustrations out, it says at some point, which is a bit more yucky. You won't get that in the TV show, but it adds more to the book. I do like the bond between John Smith and Jonah Redfern in this. That's the teacher. It seems to develop a lot more naturally than it does in the show. Like in the show, they have to fit the relationship into like 2 episodes, but in this, because it's a book, it has a lot more to stretch. Like you see them meeting, they've obviously known each other for a little bit, but you actually see it grow. Like there's bits like where he visits her house, they have a game of chess, it's all nice, and you actually see it gradually build up, and it's even more sad like at the end when he has to turn human again. But yeah, she is a really more built up character in the book. Yes, she's a really more built up character in the book compared to how she was in the actual show. Yeah, another point is that it's my first time experiencing a story with Bernice Summerfield as the companion, and I really do like her. She's an awesome character, like, because they can get away with more in the books, she has more to her. Like, she's really charming and that, but she can stick up for herself. And at the beginning, when the Doctor and her go to this market, because the Doctor's wanting to turn human, she actually goes off drinking with these people. It's hilarious. But yeah, she's a very good character, very strong, independent woman. But she still can get scared. She just fights for herself and she copes on her own. And she looks more after the Doctor. And also, there's none of that lovey-dovey stuff with the Doctor. She wants the Doctor back because they were great friends and that. And it's she just looks out for him, which is good. I also think that the story suits the 7th Doctor more than the 10th Doctor. Now, why do I say this? It suits the 7th Doctor more because with the 10th Doctor, you know how he was sort of a womanizer, you could say. He was a sort of a romantic Doctor. He used to do a lot of kissing. You can sort of imagine him when he's normally the Doctor, like falling for a human. He ate Rose, which apparently happened, which is a bit yucky. Well, not yucky, it's just a bit, I don't like Rose. But yeah, you can imagine it happening. But with the 7th Doctor, he's a more alien Doctor, and he don't actually, when he turns back human, he says he don't think of humans that way. So it's a bigger contrast to see this man Smith, who's terrified of becoming the Doctor again, because he thinks that he'll leave Joan alone because her husband got killed in the Boer War, which is really sad and that. And yeah, it's a good story. One thing that I do prefer of the TV version is that the fob watch they use, because it ties in with Series 3 and all that. In here, they don't use a fob watch. It's sort of a red sphere. It's called the Biosphere, which is basically, it contains all Time Lord nature. But some of that is more interesting is, whereas in the TV show, when Timothy, the blonde-haired kid, gets the watch, in the actual show, it talks to him. But in this, it talks to him and that, but it gives him abilities of a Time Lord. Like, there's one point where they hang him out of where the boys, like, they throw a noose over him, and just to fool with him, they hang him over side at building, and he dies, but then he comes back to life because he got 2 hearts from the sphere. So that's one thing I prefer. I prefer the Fob Watch, but still, it's a good plot point. The book ends with a truly touching ending. You know, like you get a glimpse into the war, and you see these characters who you know throughout the book in the war, and it's all sad because then you see them when they're all grown up, and it ends in this snowy village. While Timothy, he's looking on at, you know, like the graves and that, and he's talking to there's a really good message in this because he's talking to like his grandchildren about how he knew a man who told him that if you don't want to fight, you don't have to. It's best not to fight. Try and do stuff peacefully. So yeah, it's a really awesome ending. The way they reveal the Doctor's also awesome with, you know, the 7th Doctor. There's such contrast between John Smith and the Doctor. It's awesome. It also has good pacing. Like there's bits with loads of action and there's bits that go slower for the story. Brilliant book. Overall, this is one of the best Doctor Who stories, if not the best book, best one, if not one of the best that I have ever experienced. It has a truly touching story at the heart of it, with the story of John and Jonah, and it is gripping to the very last page. A true classic. I would give this a 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend it, even if you're not a fan of reading. It's just, it builds so much onto like human nature and family blood if you've watched it. It's such a better book, and there's differences, so you won't just know what happens all the way through. So yeah, that's been another Nerd Central video. Thank you for watching. Comment, rate and subscribe if you wanna. Check out the Facebook page and the Twitter if you feel like it. And I'll see you again next time with a review of whatever I think of. So that's been me here at Nerd Central. Goodbye.